Tomorrow, the capital murder trial of Tanner Horner enters its second week in Fort Worth. Horner, a FedEx delivery driver, a former delivery driver, admitted to kidnapping and killing 7-year-old Athena Strand back in November of 2022 after delivering a Christmas package to her family's house. In the coming week, both sides will continue to debate his mental state at the time. Ultimately, jurors will decide whether he will spend life in prison or he will be sentenced to death. Fox 4's Vanya Castillo is working this story for us and joins us with a live update. Hi, Vanya.
Hi, Casey. Yeah, tomorrow starts week 2 of the capital murder trial for Tanner Horner, who pled guilty to killing that 7-year-old girl and dumping her body. I sat down with an attorney who explained what we should be expecting in court this week.
What happened is a tragedy.
Tanner Horner, a former FedEx driver, pled guilty to killing 7-year-old Athena Strand after he delivered a package to her home. The trial is now about one thing: if Horner should be sentenced to death. Attorney and former Dallas County prosecutor Russell Wilson, who is not involved in the case, explaining what the jury is now faced with.
The state kind of meticulously tried to lay out their evidence. Remember, in a death penalty case, one of the issues that they're having to address is whether or not he's a future danger.
Last week, the jury was presented with surveillance footage showing Athena alive in Horner's truck as he drove away, even though he said he'd killed her in a panic after accidentally hitting her. And they also saw interrogation video where Horner told investigators that he would give them information about the murder in exchange for a month of freedom with his family so he could be with them for Christmas.
I think that the state would argue that shows a lack of remorse. And again, maybe shows a little bit of depravity in the mind, despite that gravity, still requesting to be able to be home with your family.
This week, Wilson says we should expect to see a shift from what Horner did to who he is and what his mental state is like. Horner told police he wasn't the one who killed Athena, instead blaming an alter ego named Zero. A sergeant with the Texas Rangers testified he'd get more information from Horner by asking 0 questions. That sergeant testified Horner would roll back his eyes before switching personalities.
And so the turning of the eyes in the back of the head, is that something that your brain does involuntarily, or is it something that occurs intentionally when you're kind of a precept to trying to engage in a pattern of deception?
Jurors are also expected this week to hear about a reported suicide attempt in 2023 and letters Horner wrote while in jail. Wilson says the jury will be left with a difficult decision, not about the past, but the future.
There's not a box that they check about whether or not you say yes or no for death. There's actually special issues that the jurors have to answer. And one of them is is a continuing threat.
Well, Wilson also says that at the pace that the trial is currently going, he believes that we could be seeing deliberations by the end of the week. Back to you, Casey.
Fox 4's Vanya Castillo reporting live for us tonight. Vanya, thank you. All next week, we will have live daily coverage of the trial streaming on our YouTube channel and Fox Local app. The Fox Local app is a free download.